And on that, I'd like to end this rally, my friends, with a little reading. Thanks for Tommy here for donating this newspaper. With a little question from someone called James Burns from Altrincham. Now this is a very interesting text, and I'd like to dissect it with you, my friends, because it's worthwhile reading. It starts like this. Very good start, by the way. Very good start to show the need and the knowledge this person has about Ukraine. Pope Francis was right to call for Ukraine to end this conflict with Russia. Now already we can see the stupidity oozing out of every single letter in this sentence. So hold on a second. Pope Francis was right when he asked Ukraine to capitulate. That's already stupid. Nonsensical. The bravery of the white flag. It's one of the stupidest sentences you can ever utter, wherever you're from. But then he continues that Ukraine should end the conflict with Russia. Now my friends, can anybody please explain us how a country that got attacked can end a war when it's not the one who started the war and who's attacking? How does that work? I mean, do the Ukrainians all have to collectively commit suicide? Do the Ukrainians all have to leave Ukraine to end this war? Or do the Ukrainians need to shackle themselves and say, yes, please, we will be your slaves to the Russian terrorist regime? What does Pope Francis want us to do? Please inform us. Inform us how we need to have the courage to be cowards. But let's continue. It continues like this. Russia has achieved what it has set out to do in what it describes it as, quote-unquote, liberating the Russian-speaking areas in Donbass, etc. Stupid. Prigozhin himself said many times that Russia has not achieved a single one of their objectives when invading Ukraine. The supposed demilitarization of Ukraine backfired. Ukraine is more powerful than ever before in the past. The supposed denazification of Ukraine was complete nonsense. Prigozhin admitted that he's been fighting the Ukrainians for years, and he was still looking for these imaginary Nazis. And the liberation of the Russian-speaking population, my friends, just days ago, the Russian Liberation Legion has attacked the Russian terrorist regime once again. And they have released a video where they say that they will liberate Russia from Putin. And good on them. More power to them. That is how every single Russian should be acting. To finally start acting against the Russian terrorist regime. To not see their government as their government anymore, but as an entity that took over them and that enslaved them, that is using them for their benefit. He says, I'm afraid that no matter how many more arms are poured into Ukraine's arsenal, they won't shift Vladimir Putin. First point, poured into Ukraine's arsenal. Very poor choice of words. Second point, to shift Vladimir Putin. Who's talking about shifting Putin? We do not intend to shift him. We intend to remove him from power altogether. To beat the Russian military. That is the point. That is the solution. This individual does not understand what's going on at all. He says, it was reported that when Prime Minister Boris Johnson went to Kiev 2 years ago to urge President Volodymyr Zelensky to cancel arranged peace talks, and then he says, in a quote here, claims Mr. Johnson described as nonsense and Russian propaganda. Well, because they are. Who has claimed this? Who else but Russia? Russia swore and shouted and promised that all of these talks about a full-scale invasion of Ukraine were mere Western propaganda the day before they invaded, the day before they tried to take over Kiev. All of these promises are worthless. if the next day after they make them, they break them? What's the point? What's the point of believing them? But of course, this lovely individual here does not mention that the only source that claims that Boris Johnson was the one who supposedly cancelled peace talks with Russia is Russia. That is the only source that makes these claims. And he continues. Since then, the carnage on both sides has been horrific. It's time to save lives and end the fighting. Now, this is my personal favorite sentence, honestly, my friends. The carnage was horrific. The death toll, the death toll, the lives of the people, terrible.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now, exactly. My friends, people who claim these things about the war in Ukraine, and to stop supplying Ukraine with weapons is to end the war, is to save lives, they're either idiotic, or they're paid by Russia, or of course, it's also possible they might have some serious mental issues. Because guys, I'm sorry, but if a man is defending himself against a bear trying to break in, you don't remove any weapon he might be holding from him, saying, oh, you know, you should be friends with the bear. My friends, it's as Winston Churchill said himself. You can't negotiate with a tiger when your head is in its mouth. In fact, you can never negotiate with a tiger, no matter where your head is. And Russia, my friends, is a hungry bear. It's a hungry bear that's coming for Ukraine first, true. But then, it will come for Moldova. It will come for the Baltic countries. And it will come for Poland. Would be interesting to see the reaction of these farmers in Poland who are trash-talking Ukraine left, right, and center. After they get invaded, they get a taste of this Russian justice. But my friends, individuals that write stuff like what I just read right now are few and far between in this country, because the vast majority of the people in this country know what's going on in Ukraine. They remember their history, they remember the Blitz, they remember the battle for Britain, a battle waged in the skies, a battle for which Britain did not need to have a direct border with Nazi Germany. And Britain does not need to have a direct border with Russia to be hurt by Russia. That's our message. For everybody in the world, you can be hurt and you will be hurt by Russia if you do not stop Russia together. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Героям України тричі!
Слава! Слава! Слава!
Ворогам України тричі!
Смерть! Смерть! Смерть!
Now, my friends, we will end this rally the same way we started it, with the Ukrainian anthem.